Back live, we continue right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, part of the Bordas and Bordas hotline at 412-575-2600. Bob Pompiani, Paul Zeitz. We had a lot of tweets on this. Troy Elich says, guys, Arizona and Tampa Bay are both terrible franchises, but they have nice weather. I want him, meaning Brown, in a city with terrible franchise and where it snows 8 months out of the year. He might end up someplace like that. He may not like it. I think sometimes, you know, one of the things people have to realize, Paul, it's not always greener. And your landing spot could be a lot worse than what you have it here. The Roethlisberger-Brown combination have been historically good since they've been together.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Depends on where you go. And, you know, you could be stuck with a bad quarterback that doesn't throw you the ball, you know, in a bad offense. And you know what? The next thing you know, you know, he's halfway through the season and he's miserable because he's not getting the ball and he's not, you know, all that other stuff.
And he wouldn't be referring to himself as Mr. Big Chest because at that point he wouldn't have the numbers to back that up. Wow. Yeah. I also heard he'd be willing to put that on the back of his uniform. Big chest, like Ocho Cinco.
Come on.
And if that happened.
I mean, come on.
First of all, you'd have to change your name legally to that. Hey, do you think, is that beyond what might happen? Have you seen anything that would surprise you recently?
What was the name he wanted to be called last year?
Ronald Brown. Ronald Ocean.
Ronald Ocean, yeah. What happened to that?
I don't know.
What happened to Ronald Ocean?
Maybe there are a whole bunch of personalities in there that we don't know about. Anyway, let's go to the lines. We got Marilyn in Mount Hall. What's up, Marilyn? How are you?
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I'm wondering if now that AB's out of the picture, whether the Steelers would be able to get a current NFL player or if they'll have to seek a first or second round pick.
Well, likely it's going to be a pick, unless they have somebody, a young cornerback who they like. We mentioned Patrick Peterson a lot out in Arizona. Short of that, you know, you look at a team that has a lot of draft picks, and the Oakland Raiders have stocked up. They have 6 of the top 100 picks this year, 3 in the first round, including 2, 22, and 26. Paul, they could afford one of those and bring in a guy who could help Derek Brown. Listen, John Gruden gave the Steelers a 3rd-round pick for a problem that was Martavis Bryant. Right. So he's apparently okay with bringing in problems. Maybe he feels he could change them.
Yeah, but again, if you're the Raiders, is this where the route you want to go?
Do you want to win?
I mean, are you going to win? I mean,
do you want to win? If you're going to win,
they've got a lot of problems.
But he can make you win.
He can, but they're not one player away.
On offense, they don't have much ever since they traded.
Here's a team that would probably I think it would make more sense for a team like, say, like the Dolphins.
Right.
You know, that are somewhat close. You know, they don't have enough power on offense. He
lives in Miami, too.
You know, you go down there and hang out at the U. But I'm just saying, there's a few teams out there that are like that. I mean, the Raiders need so much.
Yeah, but they're moving to Vegas, too, next year. You know, they may need somebody who's, you know, one of those kind of guys. I don't know. Let's go to Mike in Bethel Park. What's up, Mike? How are you?
Good. Hey, guys, just a quick thought here. I was wondering, do you think the NFL will ever reach terminates guys like this with their behavior, their contracts, and say this isn't this? And it's not blackballing him per se, but Odell Beckham kind of put these antics on the last couple of years, and now this guy. And I just think it's not good for the sport as a whole. I didn't know your thoughts if they.
Yeah, the league doesn't want that. And here's what I'll tell you, Mike, too. This is not beyond the realm of possibility. Antonio Brown could be suspended for 4 to 6 weeks to start this season, based on the NFL's investigation into what happened at his home with one of the mothers of his kids. Right, Paul? I mean, if you look at Ezekiel Elliott last year, what did he get? 6 games. Yeah. And a lot of people felt that was way too much, but they felt it compromised the overall look of the league.
Yeah, and I think, you know, they should start to really take a look at these kinds of things before these guys get out of control. You know, and that's the problem. The other problem is what you just said, though. Do you want to win? They have talent. These guys have talent, so if they have talent, you know what? They're always going to get another chance.
Jimmy Sticks on Twitter says, Detroit has a good quarterback. Jacksonville is 1 year removed from the AFC Championship game, and he could haunt the Steelers there. Buffalo ain't bad. I say send him to Arizona or Tampa. A lot of people agree with that. Let's go to line 3. Donna and Millville. What's up, Donna?
Good evening, gentlemen. Here in the rest of the normal world where we all reside, we have something called, you know, where you breach a contract kind of thing. And Mr. Sybil there, who has 80 different identities, you know, does he have to follow rules like the rest of us and if breach a contract brought against him?
Well, listen, I mean, if they want to, sports is a whole different, it's not real life, as we found out. It's just not.
Yeah,
but I would say if a team wants to, look, he says, you have a contract. We're going to bring you here. You want a new beginning, no negativity. We'll call you whatever you want, Mr. Big Chest, Ronald Ocean, whatever. But we're not going to rip up your contract.
Well, and I think,
what would be his next action?
Yeah, I think the Steelers actually could have, they might have a legitimate case if they wanted to rip up the contract and get out from underneath it and get out from underneath all the cap ramifications for breach of contract or whatever it's called in the NFL for his insubordination and some of the things that he did where he actually didn't live up to the terms of the contract. So they might have a case, but why would they do that when they can just trade him and get something for him? And I've heard people say, oh, well, they shouldn't acquiesce to this guy. They should hold on to him for a year. Right. If he doesn't want to do what they want him to do, they should hold on to him and just suspend him every week and take away his money every week. But then he wouldn't be able to play. What sense would that make? You wouldn't. Then you'd have a cancer in your club, clubhouse, so to speak, who's every single week you got to worry about him around your younger players. At least, even if you get a 6th-round pick for him, at least you got something for him, and as opposed to just suspending him every game, you got nothing for him.
Which leads us to Le'Veon Bell, because today I believe was the first day of transition tag designations, and so far nothing from the Steelers. There was a report that he might get it. There's another one that says he won't get it. How would you play with Le'Veon Bell? Would you just get rid of him and cut your losses and take a 3rd-round pick next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably take the 3rd-round pick and move on, because I just think that it became a headache. And it became one of these things that you're just so.
And he might sit out again or not sign again.
And he might sit out, and then he might not be able to figure out a trade and this and that and the other thing. To me, take the bird in hand, which is the 3rd-round pick, and move on.
Mike in Wexford, you're on the sports call. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Good. What's up?
Bob, I tried calling last night, but I couldn't get through. I wanted Gene to hear this. About a week or so ago, you and Gene were talking about Antonio, and you said, I think it was Gene mentioned something about it. I wondered what could have happened that made him start acting like he is. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I was talking about it, and the only thing we could come up with is when he was on that show, The Masked Singer, that hippo mask he had on must have cut the circulation off to his brain.
Well, listen, for all I know, he needs some help, for whatever reason. I mean, there are a lot of, when you're dealing with a profession that has concussions and he's had some concussions, and some of them have been violent. We remember the Vontaze Burfict hit. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that, if you were to find out later in life that was a problem for him, I wouldn't be surprised. And it leads to erratic behavior. All you have to do is look at Chris Henry. Remember him from the Bengals?
Yeah.
And how he was acting. He was a 26-year-old kid. And he had to look at Mike Webster over the years. I'm not suggesting that's what this is, but you never know.
Yeah, or he could just be crazy like a fox and have a plan.
Or maybe he's smarter than all of us.
That's what I mean.
He wanted out, and he determined I was going to make it happen. But again, you're hurting your own chances. And if he goes to a franchise that has Josh Johnson throwing passes or Colt McCoy throwing passes, if Washington should be the landing spot and one of those two guys is your quarterback, can you imagine what Daniel Snyder will be dealing with?
Yeah, it'd be ridiculous. I think it would be really ridiculous.
Vaughn in Churchill. What's up, Vaughn?
Hey, guys. How you doing this afternoon or this evening?
Or night, yeah. We're morning. Wherever you are, man.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I'm going to switch up a little bit. I haven't heard too much from Josh Harrison. You got any update on it or where he's at? Or
no, Paul, he still hasn't no job yet. Although that leads us to Manny Machado, and thank you for doing that because I wanted to get to it. But, Paul, do you think this is the first domino to fall here and others will
Yeah,
follow?
I mean, I think Harper will be next, and it'll probably be in the next day or two. It sounds like he'll go to Phillies. The problem is, Bob, all of these guys at the top are always going to get paid. The Josh Harrisons of the world, those guys are getting really kind of screwed over by the owners, and he's going to struggle probably for another week or two, and he's probably going to have to take less money than he wants to take, and that to me is the biggest problem about it. I mean, Machado and Harper were always going to get paid. The top guys always get paid. It's the middle guys and the low-end guys. What are there, 100 of them out there?
Tons of them.
So
the Pirates could still bring some in at pretty good prices, I think.
But that's the plan of all the owners.
Right.
You can't probably prove collusion, but the plan of the owners is make these guys get desperate, and then they'll start coming in, and we can get them at better prices.
I don't blame them. It's economic sanity, to be honest with you. When I come back, I'm going to ask Paul this, and I'll ask you guys out there at 575-2600. If you were in a situation of the Pirates, is it out of the question totally to bring in Manny Machado at $30 million a year? I want to get that answer from Paul. I know what the realistic answer is, but I want to just do it because San Diego did something today and not many people thought was possible. They made a choice. We'll be back with more of your calls right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.